G'day and welcome to the National Virtual Expo. I'm Rob Malicki coming to you today from Garrigall Land in Sydney. Welcome to this session on Books by the Beach, studying in regional Australia. I've got to say, having travelled to all of the Australian universities, I'm consistently blown away by just how many extraordinary opportunities there are to study outside our capital cities. And we're going to be diving into that in this session with our colleagues from Southern Cross University. Now, if you've got questions as we go, you can ask them in the chat. So if you're watching on social media, you can ask them in the comments, or you can ask right in the chat on the on the session hub, if that's where you're watching today. And of course, if you are watching this on the replay, you can join the Choosing Uni Discord. Details down there. And parents, we have a Facebook community just for you as well, where you can ask any questions you've got, no matter how specific about your particular case or how broad. Anything you want to know about going to uni, don't suffer in silence. Make sure you ask. Let's jump into this session on Books by the Beach, studying in regional Australia.
Thanks, Rob, and welcome everybody to Southern Cross University's presentation. My name is Sam, and today I'm going to be speaking to you about studying at a regional university in Australia. Now, let's get started straight into it. When people imagine university, they often picture large city campuses. I want you to, just for a moment, to stop and imagine what you think university is like. Busy lecture theatres, thousands of students, long hallways where you don't really know anyone. At least that's definitely what I imagined. I remember applying for university and thinking, this is going to be massive, intimidating, very serious. You know, I've seen all the movies where someone walks into a lecture theatre and there are hundreds of students staring back at them. And honestly, that's exactly what I thought uni was going to be. Now, don't get me wrong, for some people, that idea is exciting. They love the buzz. They like the idea of being surrounded by thousands of people. But for a lot of students like myself, especially those just starting out, returning to study or balancing work, sport, or family commitments, that picture can feel overwhelming. And I want to say this very clearly. That feeling is incredibly common. It's a feeling I had myself. Across Australia, more and more students are choosing regional universities, not because they had fewer options, but because they wanted more of the right things. Those things include more support, more connection, more balance, more chances to be seen, known, and supported. Whether you're finishing school, coming back to study after a time away, or planning to study online, regional universities offer something really valuable. A learning environment where you're not invisible, where people know your name, where support is normal, and you're not expected to figure everything out alone. And that seems simple, right? But those are very key points. Studying at regional university is about smaller class sizes. And when I say smaller, I mean sometimes 5 to 10 students, even fewer in a classroom. Close relationships with academics. Now, this is something I truly value and something I think is very underappreciated. The more connected you are to your lecturers, the easier university becomes. Of course, we have stronger community ties, and this matters. Community connection helps you find friends, clubs, be part of sporting teams, part-time work, and importantly, industry opportunities. Flexible study options because life happens. Work, family, sport, health, and at SCU, flexibility isn't an exception. It's built in, all while earning a nationally and internationally recognised degree. Sounds pretty good, right? So today, what we're going to do is we're going to explore what actually makes regional universities different. That's important to understand, right? We're going to learn what the experience feels like day to day, why regional universities work so well for so many students. We'll hear from students of our own and why it works for them, and how choosing regional university can shape your future, not limited. Okay, so before we go any further, I really want to challenge a belief that many students carry, and that belief is the best university experience is the biggest, the busiest, and the most competitive one. Some people think if you're not overwhelmed, stressed, or struggling silently, then you're somehow not doing uni properly. You know what? That's the thought I had too. But success at university isn't about being busy. It's about staying enrolled. You'll be surprised to hear how many students stop attending university after just one semester. So that's important to keep in mind. Staying motivated, building confidence, finishing what you started. Most students don't leave university because the content is too hard. They leave because they feel disconnected, unsupported, overwhelmed, or invisible. Regional universities quietly get this right. They don't just ask, how many students can we teach? They ask, how do we help students succeed? Okay, and that brings me into our next slide, which is what makes regional universities different. I'm just going to move my character up to the corner of the screen there. One of the biggest differences students notice almost immediately is connection. Now, I touched on this earlier, but it's really worth unpacking. At regional universities, classes are smaller, and honestly, I don't know about you, but I would much rather learn in a smaller group. Discussions are encouraged. Yes, this can feel daunting at first, but the benefits of engaging are incredible. Lecturers know your name, and while that sounds simple, it's actually rare in a large city university. So staff notice when you're missing or struggling, and that personalized approach can completely change someone's university journey. And this might sound like a small thing, but it makes a huge difference. Instead of sitting anonymously in a crowd, students feel part of something. They feel comfortable asking questions. They feel noticed. They feel like they matter, which is truly important. I've spoken to many students who move from big cities or far away from home, and they say within their first week at a regional university, they were already on a first name basis with their lecturers, which once again may seem normal to you, but it actually isn't. And that's not because they were special, but because the lecturers had time for them. They stayed after class, they followed up, they checked in. At school, that kind of relationship, it might be normal. At university, often disappears. At regional universities, it doesn't. That sense of belonging matters especially for in your first year, and that's where the foundations are laid. I was a first year student as well once upon a time, and that's really important to know your lecturers in that first year. If you're first in the family to go to university, something I relate to deeply as well. I didn't have previous stories to rely on or previous experiences. I had to go by myself and learn as well. So it was really important for me to go to a university where I knew the people around me. And also it's important if confidence is something you're trying to rebuild at the moment. Regional universities prioritise people, not just performance metrics. To go into more detail about this, let's hear from one of our current students, Bridget, on her experience as a student.
Hi, my name's Bridget Richardson, and I'm studying engineering at the Lismore campus at SEU. I went from high school, I did a Diploma of Science, and with my Diploma of Science course requirements, I got into engineering. I loved the diploma, so I found the diploma to be really fun and engaging. I got quite a few of my engineering topics and courses out of the way, and I also got some hands-on knowledge with chemistry, with I think there was a physics course, there was a bunch of maths. I got all of those really hands-on skills completed, and then I moved on to have, less of a worry when it came into my bachelor's. But I would call, the soft skills, communicating with your professors, or, writing a report in the SEU structure, or, doing a maths course specific to engineering before you get into your bachelor's, just to get, a taste. That was really helpful.
All right, let's move on to personalised support and strong academic relationships. We did touch on it briefly. At a regional university, support isn't something you hunt for. It's already built into the experience. Students often have direct access to lecturers and tutors, which once again may seem normal, but for some universities this isn't common. And that's not to blame the lecturers. They simply just have too many students to look after. From this, you get real conversations, not just long email threads. You get clearer feedback. That's from personal face-to-face interactions. And clearer feedback, something really anyone can appreciate, isn't that right? We also have early intervention if something isn't going well. There's a saying you may have heard before: prevention is better than cure. That's something regional universities take seriously. If something's off, it could be workload, assessments, your well-being, staff step in early and not when it's too late. And that makes a big difference. Instead of slipping under the radar, someone notices. And that matters because university isn't just an academic challenge. It's a life adjustment. This support especially benefits, like I said, first and family students, school leavers transitioning into independence, mature age students, students balancing work or caring responsibilities, and even online students who still want that connection. Regional universities take a student-first teaching approach. Teaching quality isn't an afterthought, it's the priority. One of the most valuable skills university teachers isn't academic at all. So I want you to listen in, okay? One of the most valuable skills university teachers isn't academic. It's learning how to ask for help. Such an important skill. Learning how to ask for help. Through that, students learn who to talk to, whether it's with other students, tutors, or university staff. When to reach out. Timing is so important. And that needing help is not a failure, which is so important to understand as well. That skill stays with you long after you graduate, in workplaces, in leadership roles, in life. Now, let's move on to the next topic, which I kind of briefly mentioned, and that is studying online. One of the biggest misconceptions about regional universities is that they only suit people who live nearby. That's not true. In fact, many regional universities are leaders in online education. Online students benefit from same strengths as on-campus students: smaller cohorts, personalised support, direct access to academics, purpose-built online learning environments. Everything I just described for on-campus students just then applies to online students too. This isn't just recorded lectures and silence. Okay, that can seem a bit of a drag, can't it? Courses are designed to be interactive, discussion-based, led by real teaching staff, connected to real-world practice. It doesn't matter where you are. You can be studying in rural Victoria, Northern Territory, Western Australia, overseas, or even down south in Tasmania. Where you live does not limit where you study. And if you think geography might restrict you, I want you to change that thought right now. Okay, it is possible, and Southern Cross University is certainly an option for you. So let's take a second to hear from one of our current students, Jerome, and how the university incorporates online learning with him.
Hello everyone, my name is Jerome. I study a Bachelor of Laws at Southern Cross University Gold Coast campus. As Southern Cross is a smaller regional uni, I think the biggest benefactor of it is having more one-on-one interactions with the professors, as they've really helped me grow and become a better law student. Another thing we also have at Southern Cross Uni is first-year advisors. Basically, these advisors will reach out to you in your first year of commencing your study, and they basically answer any questions or inquiries you have about the uni. They can help you with enrollment, and they can basically send you to where you need to be to progress further in your studies.
What a great insight there from Jerome. Now, let's talk about our next topic, which is lifestyle, community, and cost of living. These things matter, so it's important to talk about. Regional study often means less congestion, shorter commutes, more affordable housing compared to the big cities, strong community feel, and my personal favourites, access to nature. All three main campuses here are either surrounded by forest or within walking distance to the beach, which is incredible, right? I mean, I've spoken to so many students who are part of run clubs next to the beach, swim clubs, their coffee groups with an ocean view, and even some incredible stories of students in the classroom watching whales jumping out of the water. It's truly breathtaking, and you might even hear a story about that one soon. The views and the scenery we have on our campuses is, like I said, it's breathtaking, and it's something I recommend everyone listening should go have a look at. And this has a huge impact on well-being. It really does. Less commuting, less financial pressure, more breathing room, metaphorically and literally. That environment shapes your experience more than you realise. Regional doesn't mean disconnected. I want you to get that out of your mind. It's something I had as well. Regional, I thought, was disconnection from everything, but that's not the case. It means connection locally, regionally, and globally. Okay? Now, let's go into our next slide here, which is real-world opportunities and industry connections. Regional universities are deeply connected to their communities, especially Southern Cross University. Because of that, students often gain access to local placements and internships, community-based projects, hands-on learning, smaller, meaningful professional networks. Knowledge is important, but experience is just as valuable. I want to highlight that again. Okay, everyone listening? Knowledge is important, but experience is just as valuable. Your professional network starts while you're studying. Think critical in fields like health, education, science, engineering, business, community services. Employers know the university, they know the students, they trust the training. Okay, so let's take another quick break here and cut to a video of Alumnus of the Year, Moesha Johnson, and how she balances her busy life while studying at a regional university.
I've come into the high performance end of swimming at an older age, and it's always going to be my story, but I hope other people can be inspired by that, that if you aren't fitting in the box, that if you still have a dream and you believe in yourself, it can be done. The last 18 months have been absolutely crazy. Competing internationally, not having won an international medal, to coming away with my first international individual medal at an Olympic Games, and then to go on and become two-time world champion within the space of a year. It's an unbelievable journey. Two-time world champion, it's something that even I still get a little shocked to. Turning up to the Olympics is something that they tell you is really hard to take in for your first time, and it's all very overwhelming, and they aren't wrong. I got to do the pool swimming before the open water, which was absolutely nerve-wracking experience. The crowd was unbelievable, the roof was being lifted off with the cheering, and then so to come across to the open water felt quite calm. To actually pull it off at an Olympics as your first international medal is something that is a really incredible achievement. I'm really proud of that. I've come from a rural background, grew up on a farm, and having a small university was actually the best thing for me. Having the Summerland Credit Union scholarship behind me throughout my degree has just meant the world. To have someone backing you whilst you're going through challenging times, it gives you the confidence to know that you can finish it because someone else believes in you. As an athlete, I have to understand the physiology and the backing to what I'm doing, and I don't just train, I like to understand what I'm training. I really came into high performance sport post-degree with the confidence to know that I'm secure. So no matter what I do now, whether I swim or I don't, I've got a really great degree behind me. To anyone who's doing it at the most professional level and studying, hats off to them. People who are balancing, families and study or work and study, it's an incredibly tough thing, but to finish it and have that in your back pocket, anyone should be proud of that achievement. For me, the first reaction to receiving this award is, wow, what a community I'm part of. You might only be at uni for 3 years, but you're part of that community for life. It's the Northern Rivers that grounds me. I know my favourite part of the success is coming home and sharing it with the people who have been on that journey with me. The little moments are important, and I think there was a coach who taught me this, that he's like, Mo, you need to pause and you need to look at what you've just achieved, because we're always looking at the next thing and we often forget to stop and recognise how far we've come. I just love swimming. I think that's a huge motivator for any athlete, knowing that you've got more to give to the sport. I think the day that you feel like you don't have more to give is the day you choose to retire, so that's not me yet.
Now, we've learnt so much about regional universities, but let's bring it back home a little and talk about our own campuses. Southern Cross University is a strong example of a modern regional university done well. Let's talk about our campuses here. Lismore, a campus surrounded by a subtropical forest in northern New South Wales, known for its natural beauty and creative culture. We have our other Coffs Harbour campus, about an hour and a half south of Lismore, and on our Coffs Harbour campus, we have the Marine Science Centre, just hundreds of metres away from the beach, which makes sense, right? It'd be hard for me to justify studying marine science if, our centre was hours away from the water. But luckily, our students are learning in the very environment they'll be working in. And we also have the Gold Coast campus, which is where I'm located right now. Just a short few-minute walk from the beach. And I'm talking about some of the best beaches in Australia, and I truly mean it. So For someone of you, some of you listening out there, you may want to study with us, but like the idea of a bustling city, we also do have metro campuses. We understand that people do like the city as well. We have metro campuses in Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, and Perth. And like I said, a large online student community. At Southern Cross University, we offer smaller interactive classes. I've spoken on this previously. Strong academic relationships, dedicated first-year advisors. We have a first-year advisor group where from day one, you have someone you can contact anytime you need to help with anything. Whether you call them, email them, or text them, they are dedicated to helping you in your first year of study. That is truly something that is incredible that in the workforce you may not get. Okay, so let's talk about the next thing I have to offer. So I'm going to remove myself again, the Southern Cross model. Let's talk about our casual 12-week term at university. 4 subjects across 12 weeks, right? Let's change the 4 subjects to 4 tennis balls, and let's change the 12 weeks to 12 minutes. If I asked you to juggle 4 tennis balls for 12 minutes, that seems pretty tough, right? Unless you're a professional juggler, it should be tough for most. But what if I told you, how about instead of 12 weeks, 12 minutes, let's just do 6 minutes. And instead of 4 tennis balls, let's juggle 2 tennis balls for 6 minutes. Now, it still may be a bit difficult, but it's a lot easier compared to juggling 4 tennis balls for 12 minutes. And that's exactly what this Southern Cross model is. We're juggling a smaller amount of subjects for a smaller amount of time, focusing in on those 2 subjects, and then we have a little break and we go again. So it's the same workload as every other university. At the end of the year, you would have studied the same amount, but it's just less at once, and it works. This isn't just my opinion. We have a 91% student success rate for students passing subjects since the SCU model was introduced. Rather than just hearing from me, let's hear from one of our current students, B, and her experience with the SCU model.
I can actually live while being in uni. Hi, my name is B. I'm studying business and marketing here at SCU. One of the things that I really enjoyed throughout my course is definitely the 6 week terms, because I've studied on other universities that had longer terms, and this short and quick way to learn is so much more engaging, and you get to study 2 units at a time. So if you're a full-time student, you're studying 2 units for 6 weeks. You get to learn so much more deeply than you would learn if you had to study 5 or 6 units at a time. You have the small classrooms. You can ask your teacher directly and they know your name, and not only the teachers itself, but the system, how the unit works, the online study and the flexible classes. They are so helpful if you're trying to balance work, life, and study. And I have my personal life, I have personal projects. I can actually live while being in uni, and I've seen the other side of it. I've been a student at other uni in Brazil, and I lived to study. It was full on, and I feel so much happier studying here at Southern Cross.
What a great insight there from B. Now, let's talk about quality, reputation, and facilities. Choosing regional does not mean compromising on quality. Once again, choosing regional does not mean compromising on quality. Southern Cross University is internationally recognised for teaching. So in Australia, we received a score of 75.7% for teaching quality. Research. We are one of the biggest leaders for research in the country. We have conducted research where we are looking to build houses with 3D printers using recycled plastic. The plastic water bottle on my desk right now can be used for building a house. It's incredible. Now, I'm not the biggest researcher here. I don't know the most, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But we also have done research where we aim to make the clouds in the sky brighter so it blocks the sun from bleaching coral. Now, we have some truly amazing research facilities out here, and it's just the beginning. We're looking to constantly improve on this. And with that research, it has industry impact locally, regionally, and internationally. We offer courses across health, education, science, engineering, business, IT, law, environmental science, veterinary science, and more. Within that, their facilities include specialist labs. Like I said, it's nursing simulation labs. We have motion detection cameras for our exercise science students. We have force plates that can show how much force individual puts on each leg. It's incredible. We have health and wellbeing clinics. We have clinics on campus that members of the public can attend, and our students can work with them and practice in their field. Let me say that again. We have clinics on campus our students can work in. They're not sitting at a desk writing papers or essays all the time. They're working in the real environment, and that's so important. We have our modern libraries. All students have access to the library for any equipment you may need, or just a nice quiet study space with students. So you get 24-hour access to that as well. We also have tech-enabled learning spaces. We understand that some students may have barriers, which is why we have computers and other technology services throughout the campuses, so all students get an equal opportunity. Okay, let's talk about accommodation and lifestyle perks. So we do have on-campus accommodation. We have on-campus accommodation in Lismore and Coffs Harbour. So any students looking to move away, we do have accommodation available on these campuses. Now, you may be wondering, I didn't mention Gold Coast there. So although we don't have accommodation on the Gold Coast campus, we do partner with UniStays, and they are there to help students find accommodation on the coast. So you are not limited at all to studying on the Gold Coast, because we work really heavily with students to find accommodation. We have gyms and heated pools. I mean, what's not to love about that, right? Also, free parking. This may not seem like much for some, but for listeners out there, there are unis that charge hundreds or even thousands for parking each year. So to have that free parking at our main campuses is quite a good bonus. Another thing as well is campuses near airports. That's a great perk. With our flexibility and lifestyle, students can travel all the time. And our 3 main campuses are located right next to major airports, especially the Gold Coast. I'm a 2-minute walk from the airport and the beach right now. So those 2 weeks I spoke about with the break, it's very easy to go and make the most of it when you're studying at Southern Cross University. Look, it's great to hear all this from me, but how about see for yourself? Let's have a look at what our campuses really look like.
Welcome and join me as we explore some of the best spots around our Gold Coast campus. First, we have the library full of computers, comfy study spaces, lots of book nooks, and as we jump upstairs, we have lots of private study rooms on the 2nd floor. Let's jump across to level 10, where we have some stunning beach views, and it's one of the best study spots on campus. Walking down to level 4, we have one of our student lounges, which even has a pool table. We also have our outdoor student event space, and we can't wait to see you all here.
What a great insight into what our campuses are like. Now, let's finish shortly, but let's finish with getting you to think about university experience that fits you. Choosing where to study is more about than location. It's about asking, will I feel supported? Will my lecturers know me? And we touched on that. At regional university, they certainly will. Will this fit my life? There's a different lifestyle for everyone, and like I said, it's through experience. You get to know this while you're at university. For many students, regional universities offer the perfect balance of quality, connection with friends, clubs, industries, other support, flexibility. You may have trips you want to do. You may have work and other commitments. We offer flexibility here at the university. And once again, I said support. Lecturers, tutors, the first year advisors, don't forget about them. Southern Cross University provides an environment where students are known, not lost. To learn more about finding balance while studying at university, let's take another break and hear from one of our current students, Jasmine, and her journey at Southern Cross University.
So a fun fact about my study experience at Southern Cross is that I've actually seen whales jumping out of the water while I've been in class, which is so cool. Hi, I'm Jasmine. I'm a student at Southern Cross on the Gold Coast campus, and I'm studying psychology and exercise science. So another great thing about my studies here at Southern Cross has been my relationship with the academics. So last year there was actually a time where I had to go overseas for 3 weeks of a 6-week term. So if it was a competition, I travelled, I went to Japan, but the whole time my academics were supporting me. We were emailing back and forth before the term even started, just to map out. I even had a meeting with the unit assessor where she said, come in and meet me at my office. And we sat down and we just talked through everything. It was so personal and just genuine that I feel like you don't get that at unis that have huge cohorts. So I actually love the Southern Cross model. In my first year of studying, we were actually in the old system. So I think it was 12 or 13 week terms, and I honestly felt like I was back at school. It was really overwhelming. There were 4 subjects going on at the same time, but with the Southern Cross model, it's only 2 subjects for 6 weeks. So I prefer it so much more. I feel like I can actually focus on the content and actually learn what I need to learn. And another thing I really love about Southern Cross being a regional university is the smaller class sizes. So when I walk into class, the academics actually know my name, they know my situation and what I'm going through at the time, so that's been huge for me.
What a fantastic insight there from Jasmine. And after seeing that, it reminds me every time that sometimes choosing regional isn't choosing less. It's choosing more of what matters for you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learnt a few things. And if you have any questions about Southern Cross University, please feel free to reach out.
I got my first grade at uni and I just laughed out loud. It wasn't just a pass, I actually got a high distinction, and I'd always done terrible at school. I did the PSP course at SEU, which gave me like the foundations of what you need to be able to study at uni, and I didn't fail that, got good grades, so I was like, hey, we'll keep going. Studied a bachelor in psych, did all right, so I kept going and got into honours, and now I'm writing a thesis. Getting that first grade was the first time that I felt like I can actually do this, and it has led me to get to where I am now, and I'm really grateful of it.
Well, I hope you got something out of this session. And if you have any questions at all, you can head to choosingyouruni.com and ask Lumen. Lumen is your AI guide who knows about every university, every pathway, every option that we've talked about throughout this virtual expo. And Lumen is available to talk to you 24/7. So it's ready when you are.